Marketing, is it a business expense or is it a business investment? We're going to talk about that and much more on this episode of The Crude Truth.
In 1901, at Spindletop Hill near Beaumont, the future of Texas changed dramatically as, like a fountain of fortune, thousands of barrels of oil burst from the earth towards the sky. Soon, Detroit would be cranking out Model Ts by the millions, and America was on the move, thanks to the black gold being produced in Texas. Now, more than a century later, the vehicles are different, but nothing else has truly changed. Sure, there may be many other alternative energy sources like wind and solar and electric. But let's be honest, America depends on oil and entrepreneurs, and if the USA is truly going to be independent, it has to know the crude truth.
NAPE is a proud sponsor of The Crude Truth. Be sure to register for the NAPE Expo 2024, February 7th through the 9th at the George R. Brown Convention Center in Houston, Texas. Hurry and register today. NAPE, where deals happen.
This episode is brought to you by LFS Chemistry, committed to being good stewards of the environment and providing the tools so you can be too. NAPE Expo, where deals happen. Air Compressor Solutions. When everything is on the line, Air Compressor Solutions is the dependable choice to keep commercial business powered up. Sandstone Group. Exec Crew. Elevate your network, elevate your knowledge. Oil and Gas Workers Association. Pecos Country Operating. Fueling our future.
Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time of day it is. Just thank you as always for listening to another episode of The Crude Truth. Well, as we continue on in just a wonderful year of 2023, I've just had, again, the utmost honor and privilege to have some amazing guests on this year. And today, this episode is no different. Today, I've got someone that is a marketing guru, someone that also has their eye on the oil and gas world when it does come to marketing, and someone that understands it more importantly than a lot of the other people that are out there. Today, my guest, hailing from West Texas, is Breezey Clark. Breezey, how are you?
Well, I'm good. Thank you for that introduction, Ray. I hope I live up to it now.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you so much and welcome out here to Dallas today and traveling all the way from West Texas.
That's right.
And well, how was the driving?
You know, it was really great. I've been watching the weather all week because there were scattered thunderstorms. There were some severe thunderstorms in the forecast. But as I made my way up here, it was like the clouds parted. The sun came out a little bit and just guided me in right into Lincoln Center. So it was really great. It turned out to be a nice drive.
Oh my, well, I'm glad to hear that. And thank you very much for coming into town to do this. You and I have had an opportunity to meet there in Midland a couple different times. In fact, at one point I was able to use a studio that you provided for an interview that I did. And you and I got to start talking, and I was able to listen to what you've been doing and what your background is and how you've been able to be into the oil and gas industry, and now how you're taking both your background and the oil and gas experience and just blowing up on that. So for listeners out there, Breezey, let's tell a little bit about yourself.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. And again, thank you for the introduction. When I got the opportunity recently to get into marketing, it's not actually that recent because I've been doing different marketing tactics for myself for a while. The further I got in my career with oil and gas, the more I realized that it was more about the services that I was providing as an individual, not so much just the different companies that I was working for, because it's that personable experience that we need, especially in oil and gas, because companies come and go. We have booms, we have busts, and it's the relationships that you make and the impressions that you meet on people that really matter. And as we've moved more into, the digital lifestyle that we have today, it's important to put yourself out there, your online presence, and to be consistent and to be a source that's going to contribute to what we're doing. And I'm very partial to West Texas. I've lived in West Texas for about 7 years now, and so it's definitely home for me. And I know that it can be fly by night. People come and go. But as we've built something more sustainable, it's not so much about the boom and bust and the inconsistencies. It's about building a sustainable lifestyle and something that we can all count on. because before it was more about that fear-based living. When is this going to end? When's the shoe going to drop? And we still have that. It's not as drastic, I think, as it has been. And I've listened to, different people speak about it, different public officials, different thought leaders. And it's really the goal across the board to maintain West Texas and the lifestyle that we have and the resources that we provide. So that's why when I got more into just marketing, I have a strong affection for oil and gas and what we do to market it towards the customer and not towards the fear of what may change. You want to be proactive with your approach and not reactive to what may happen.
Right. And in my teaser, I talked about, hey, we all use as business owners, we all use marketing as expense on our taxes, right? It's an attack. But you and I in our pre-meeting, we talked about how you look at it more as it's an investment rather than spending money and just for tax purposes. Can you talk about that a little bit and how you see that going and what exactly you mean by that?
Yeah, absolutely. Because it's more about your approach and in what you're trying to achieve. Because with marketing, if you don't utilize the right tactics for yourself, it can just be an expense, or it can just be seen as a tax write-off or an expense that can be utilized, and you're just trying to find somewhere to put that amount of money that is allotted to you. Maybe your company has a budget that is spent on marketing, but you don't necessarily use the right tactics for your business. And there's a lot of different tools out there that, depending on what your services are and what your goals are, that would determine what's going to be most beneficial. And you can end up getting a larger ROI if you implement the right strategy and you don't just go with what's trending, or you don't just go with what you think you might want, but how you're going to reach your customers, how you're going to get your brand out there, and how you're going to be able to elevate yourself to different levels. So as far as, what is the right marketing strategy, there isn't a blanket approach across the board, because especially, I always go back to oil and gas because my background is so ingrained in oil and gas, from being in the field, from running equipment and working with welders, to doing QC work and coordinating and being on location or in an office, that I know a little bit more the ins and outs of how the industry works. So I can see how one tactic may work for a certain part of the industry and be completely ineffective in another. So it's, for me, when you start at ground level and you think about, if somebody's driving down the road and they see one of your trucks and they see your name and number across the side of the door, or you have a billboard, or you have, something out there in the physical presence of every day, then they're going to Google you. They're going to look you up online. They're going to look at your social media accounts. They're going to go to your website and see what it is you offer. Do you have a professional presence? Do you have good standing on Google? Do you have good reviews? Do you have any reviews? Are you on social media? Of course, in oil and gas, we're all very partial to LinkedIn.
Yes.
And it's very well known in West Texas that LinkedIn is an effective way to communicate and stay connected within the industry, to know what's going on. If you have services offered, I've certainly offered things on LinkedIn. I have got exceptional business from LinkedIn. And it's amazing. It's a great resource, because with oil and gas, of course, it's national, it's international, but we have a really strong hub in West Texas. And so that can link us all together very quickly. But it's important to know what's effective and where you need to be. And so when you can go to someone's LinkedIn page, or you can see who works there, there's credibility behind it. There's presence, there's support. Who do you work with? What connections do you have that this company also has? Are you on Facebook? Do you do any other kind of social media branding? The different social media platforms are getting more popular for oil and gas, depending on what you do. And if you enjoy that, if you have younger generation working for you, that they can really take the reins on that and make something out of it. I've seen plenty of different companies successful with TikTok videos, because that's where everybody's at right now. And I've never done TikTok videos, so that's not my thing, but I've seen a lot of cool stuff on there, and it's fun, and it's another way to make it fun.
Well, I definitely don't know anything about TikTok myself, other than every now and then people ask me, "Are you on TikTok?" I'm like, "No, no, I'm not."
No, and I mean, it's like for me, it's just for me with marketing and myself as an individual, like I don't have any use for it, but I definitely think it's something that you could use that you can build your brand for your company and build up your employees if that's something that they're good at because you can make really great TikTok videos that are fun to watch, that are educational, that show your services or what you're all about. So that goes back to, your physical presence out in the world with, you've got your name and number on a truck. People are going to look you up. And that's one step in the direction of marketing. So when people look you up, what are they finding? Do you have an online presence? Do you have a website? What does it look like? Is it easy to navigate? Do you have calls to action? Are your services clearly listed? Those are the types of things that I can help people with very easily. And then you can get into the background of all of that with SEO. Or can people search you by keyword? If you have all this money invested in billboards and you're out on the road, but if somebody looks up a hydrovac company and you don't come up on the first page of Google and you've invested all of this money in a billboard, you're still going to get overlooked if somebody hasn't seen that billboard.
Right. I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah. And so, but that's part of my job to be able to help somebody invest their money wisely and spend it on the right tactics, because it's not just about one approach. It's about finding the right combination of the strategies that are going to build your business on, a daily basis, on a monthly basis. And then you can start seeing that return depending on, are you getting calls? Do you have a, radio commercial? Are people hearing your ads on the radio? Are they seeing you come up more and more in, digital advertising or in just, in social media in general, that people are following your page, they're liking your stuff. And so even with, paid marketing solutions, they still need to be paired with your own due diligence on what you're doing for your company. Do you have a marketing department? Do you have somebody that's in charge of all of these things? And are they doing their due diligence for the job that you've hired them to do? So there's a lot of different branches that go into this.
There's a lot of different branches. And, you've highlighted that, hey, you've spent the last, 5+ years in the oil and gas industry working for different companies. But let's talk about also what you did before that, because you've just unloaded and really shared a lot of top dollar information that companies should be paying for. So I'd like to just let people know about what else you've done in the past that you've been able to now take all this knowledge, if you don't mind sharing just a little bit about that.
Yeah, I'll definitely hit the highlight reel on that one because we don't have that much time. But how I got into oil and gas and media in general and marketing. Before I came to West Texas, I had done some traveling for a while. I had worked in oil and gas a little bit in the pipeline division across the country, where like with pipeline, that's just with natural gas, it's very short term work. It's it's one major component of oil and gas, but of course in West Texas, it's more about the ins and outs and the daily functioning facilities and flowback and drilling. And with pipeline, it's all over. It's connecting one location to another, and that's kind of what I had grown up around. And that was my first opportunity to really work in that environment. And I've learned how to run equipment and learned how to grease the machines and clean them and do very basic, low level low level experience. But it was from that I had first been exposed to oil and gas. And so that's a little bit of my background as to how I've even known about the industry. When I went back to college after I'd done some traveling, I studied communications at Tarleton State. I was there for about 2.5 years and got my bachelor's in speech communications. I studied broadcasting. I did a little bit with interpersonal communication. I did radio. I had a very short-lived TV show. It was for an internship, and it was before Tarleton had really developed into the amazing communications department that it now has. We did not have that when I was there. I graduated the semester before everybody moved into the new building.
Oh,
Yes, and so it was more grassroots, and we were in old dorms in Davis Hall with the small studios that were multifunctional. It probably had like 4 or 5 different purposes, and we would just switch everything out. And it was pretty organized, and it was a great experience for me. But that was when I knew I wanted to do something with media. I wanted to do something. Really in marketing. Because with marketing as a foundation, you can build anything. If you brand something correctly, if you present it and you have the right tools to get it out there into the public, it's really important to know how to do that. And so for me, in my background, it was media and marketing was kind of the foundation. But my roots were more in the pipeline industry. Like I said, that's what I'd grown up around. But it was on my bucket list to go back to school to finish my degree. And so I went back to school when I was 25 and did a lot of really cool things at Tarleton in conjunction with the media that I was involved in. I was also a yoga instructor. I had a really great practice there and met some amazing people, and took that with me after I graduated. When I started traveling, I went on somewhat of a gypsy journey and lived in West Virginia for almost 2 years. I bought a 1988 vintage travel trailer that I remodeled and lived in and taught yoga and did all kinds of cool stuff in the Northeast, and took that with me out to Vegas and pulled my trailer for the first time, actually to West Texas first. It was a pretty long haul. It was about 1,700 miles. That was my first long haul. It was my first time pulling anything. I just decided to do it all at once. I figured I would learn as I went, and I did. By the time I got to Indiana, I was pretty good.
well, that's not too far from West Virginia, so I say you nailed it pretty quick.
And, but in West Texas or in Texas in general, there's a lot of straight, good highway.
Yes.
They don't have that in the Northeast. And so even on the interstates, I want to say that the speed limit was 55 because of all the hills and curves, and it's a little bit more challenging terrain. I would not recommend that to be the way that you learn how to pull a travel trailer, but that's how I did it. And that was a chapter in my life where I was really just experiencing things as they came. And so I had gotten a job offer in West Texas, an opportunity to run equipment to build a facility in Orla, which is between Pecos and Carlsbad. If you know West Texas, you know where Orla is. And it was nothing like it is now. It's actually pretty habitable, and there's a lot of luxuries in Orla now that were not there almost 7 years ago. And I had to learn the hard way that if you didn't have gas, you didn't have a full tank leaving Pecos, you might not make it back because there was one pump, and you had to be a member or have a code, or I don't remember what it was because I never had it. And so it was very close call, my first trip out to Orla, making it back into town. So those were harder times for me that they were definitely what shaped me and shaped that part of my journey. But it was a cool experience. I wouldn't necessarily do that again. But it was the bucket list. I'd wanted to get my degree, and I got my degree and decided I'd had enough of that structured living for a while. And so I kind of went on a free-spirited journey and learned a lot and did a lot. But when I took a break from working in oil and gas, and I went out to Vegas and took my camper. And again, that was some different kinds of mountains to navigate. And that was also really difficult and life-changing and scary. At the end of the day, it was scary. I don't know what I was thinking. And but I had to do it. It was one of those I guess moments in my life where I just wanted to see what I was made of. And made it there. I was in Vegas for about a year. Again, I was still teaching yoga. I was still into that, and worked in a lot of different nightlife. That was a totally different lifestyle, but Worked with a lot of different clubs, worked with a lot of different people
Mhm.
that had different businesses out there. I mean, of course, it's Las Vegas, and so this is totally different
I was
conversation.
about
We
to
may
say
have
that's a
to do
different
another
podcast. Yes,
interview.
yeah, that's a
But I'm still friends with a lot of those guys, and that was years ago that I was there, and so I decided, you know what, I really love the desert, um, and I want to go back to West Texas, and settled in West Texas, and realized this was kind of the happy medium for me.
Mhm.
I like the desert climate.
Yeah.
Midland is very low key compared to Vegas and even Dallas,
Yes.
but it's also has a lot of access. I love getting on a plane from Midland and going wherever.
Mhm.
Whenever I want to go to Vegas, it's about 2 hour flight. It's very easy to go and come back. But I have worked really hard to establish myself in a sustainable lifestyle that I can navigate, and I can call a lot of my own shots, and build the business that I want to have. I really like working with people, and even taking some of my yoga practice into the professional world, in a sense that it's more about feeling connected to your work and having a healthy lifestyle, a healthy mindset, and doing good business. And so I learned that, all the way back when I was at Tarleton, and that was about 10 years ago when I graduated. And so it's a very, very long journey, very full of adventure. I could go on for days about some of the things I've seen and experienced, and how it all came circle, but it did all come full circle when I decided to dive into marketing
Yes.
and go back to the beginning and make very good use out of my communications degree and what I learned at that time, and how it can be effective in an industry that's based on being reactive and not necessarily proactive, because that's just the way oil and gas has always been done, and it's always been very fast paced, and chickens today and feathers tomorrow, and helping businesses that are wanting to implement more foundation and solidify the services that they offer. There's a lot of that. A lot of them do it on their own. Like I said, they have their own marketing departments, and they do very well.
I want to, as we bring the conversation back to Midland, you said something I liked, which was, that boom or bust fear is slowly going away, and we're trying to get to a stabilization, especially out there in Midland, because it's always been a boom or bust town, or West Texas in general, from Big Spring.
Oh yeah,
Well, it's always been, I got to give, because that's where it started. So I got to
Yeah.
give a shout out to Big Spring.
of course.
But from there west, it was always boom or bust. How do you feel that with the marketing that's going on today, how can you help continue to bring that stabilization to the industry of oil and gas as we move forward?
Well, I think, again, it's that rule of thumb that marketing is an investment. It's not an expense when it's implemented correctly. And depending on if you are a small, locally owned business or a big corporate entity, you have to look at what your goals are. And what's your KPI? What's your key performance indicators? What is it you're trying to achieve? Is it more business? Is it more relationships? Do you want people to know more about you? Of course, it's always sales. It's always, at the end of the day, it's about revenue. But there's a lot of different levels as far as what you're trying to achieve. And, do you want to be the best? Do you want to be number one? Do you want to talk about what it's going to take to get you into that number one spot on Google, so that when people look for your services, they find you and they can connect that. And if you do want to be the best on the road, you have your trucks wrapped and you've got a really nice, physical presence. You've got your billboards up, you've got your radio ads, you've got your website. What's the next step? And then you can go even further, and you can continue to grow that with digital tactics and learning more about staying ahead of the trend. Like we've created a trend. I see it. The longer I've been in, and I always say Midland, but it is West Texas, because in all fairness, the first time I pulled my camper, it was all the way out to Pecos. It was not to Midland.
Oh,
And
wow.
when I
So you
finally-
passed Midland.
Oh, yes. Yes, Midland was just, a nice thought. I had to get to Pecos because I had 3 days to get from Wheeling, West Virginia to Pecos, Texas to get signed up to start work in Orla. And I made it there, I think, at 6 o'clock the night before I was supposed to be at the office. And so it was a huge achievement for me. I mean, nobody else thought it was that big of a deal because they're doing that all the time. But for me, I'm like, I just pulled my trailer across the country.
That's a big deal.
But
Yes.
in all fairness, that it was also it was nothing compared to the chapter I was about to begin, being a female equipment operator on a location, with a bunch of roughnecks and men that have been in the industry forever. But I learned a lot from them, and a lot of them appreciated me and valued me and respected me for what I was doing and what I was trying to do. So it was a great experience. But from that time until now, I mean, the whole concept of marketing has evolved and taken its own route. It's not just someone like me that's a marketing consultant, but it's whoever decided that LinkedIn was going to be our way to connect and communicate. That you see businesses on a daily basis with their employees posting pictures of location, of beautiful pictures of oil rigs with the West Texas sunset in the background, or we're on location today cooking for everybody. We're showing our appreciation for our vendors. We're in all of the fundraisers that we do, with all of the golf tournaments and the clay shoots and the organizations that we have and the luncheons that happen every month, and encouraging more people to come to and get connected and figure out where their place is. Because one thing about oil and gas, you've worked for multiple companies. If you've worked in oil and gas long enough, like, it's probably taken you a little while to figure out what it is you want to do, where you want to be, who are your people, what's your niche. So you've got to go through those growing pains to establish yourself. But as we've all evolved together and apart, going through COVID and all the turbulence of different administrations, we've hung on, and West Texas is stronger than ever. Marketing is a huge factor in that. The way that we put ourselves out there and continue to try new things and evolve with the way that we communicate. Like, everything is digital now, so being able to get on that, not a bandwagon, so to speak, but really stay with it. You need to, or you're going to get left behind. It's very important to be able to keep up with that, and also kind of create your own presence and like I said, how you want to do it. And so it's not just one way to post something on social media, or okay, you set your website and you're done. Like, there's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes to keep up with that and to keep you where you want to be and to stay ahead, because we never know what's going to happen. Right. And there still is, and there always will be, the fear-based news that's presented, regardless of who's saying it. There's always going to be something that we're trying to integrate into our society that we should be afraid. But the more prepared we are, the more proactive we are, and the more we work together, the less afraid we really have to be, and the more we can kind of see through some of that. And we know that it's not necessarily true. It's not an end all. Like, any minute now, this is all going to end. Right. Midland, West Texas is a very powerful region. And so to amplify that power, we need to be smart about it. And we need to make sure that we're not just defending ourselves because we're that redheaded stepchild that everyone wants to blame everything on when something goes bad, and then ignore when, things are good. Like, we are the power source, and, we are the way that, people are able to live their lives every day. And it's something to be proud of. And it's something to, to really lift up. And so, going back to your original point, is it a business expense or is it an investment? I think it's absolutely an investment of, who you want to be in the future and who you are today.
Well, Breezey, you have really today just kind of given us the crude truth of really what marketing is. And you put it in layman's terms also. It's like, because sometimes when you get a marketing group that wants to come in and do stuff for you, they're really, I feel like, showing you the pomp and the circus, like, hey, we're going to do this and this and this. But it's like, okay, but why? And that's what you've been able to do today. It's like, hey, we need to sit down. We need to understand. We need to do this. We need to do that. So I cannot thank you enough for coming on. For people out there that do want to use your services and be able to grow their companies through all the great things that you do, how can people get a hold of you?
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to help anyone that's in need of marketing solutions. If you are in oil and gas, absolutely hit me up on LinkedIn. That is where you'll find me. I have all of my contact information on there, and would love to get connected to more like-minded people and more oil and gas businesses that are wanting to take their marketing to the next level. And if you just want to talk marketing at all, please absolutely get with me and give me a call, shoot me an email, and I would love to help you out and help you strategize where you are on your business journey and educate you more on how to be more successful with that.
Oh my gosh. Well, everyone out there, y'all please reach out to Breezey if you can. If y'all have got some marketing questions, if y'all need somebody to help y'all with y'all's business, I can't recommend her enough. What she's doing is really helping out the oil and gas industry and West Texas as a whole. So Breezey, thank you so much for coming to Dallas to do this. I really wanted to highlight all the great things that you're doing today. So just thank you so much for coming to the CRUDE TRUTH studio.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
And we'll see y'all here next time on another episode of the CRUDE TRUTH.
Again, thank you to our sponsors, LFS Chemistry, NAPE Expo, Air Compressor Solutions, Exec Crew, Oil and Gas Workers Association, Pecos Country Operating.
The easiest way to start your own podcast and TV show? Real News Communications Network. Stand out from your competition. Produce streams of high-quality social media content. Become a thought leader in your industry. With RNCN, you get to be the host. We handle everything else. Tour one of our 3 locations in Dallas, Fort Worth, and the Colony. Call 972-402-6333 or visit launchashow.com to find out more.